joined now by MASN Orioles insider Steve Molesky. And Steve, the Orioles made a trade the other night, dealing away Darell Hernaiz, one of their top 20 prospects. But they're so loaded in terms of middle infield prospects with Gunnar Henderson, with Joey Ortiz, with Jackson Holliday, with Freddie Bencosme. If there's any system that can handle the loss of their number 16 prospect, it's the Orioles.
Well, we were all wondering, Paul, would there be a trade that would involve prospects and, to get a pitcher? And there was. And it only involved one prospect, not even a top 10, mid-range in their top 30. So plus 4 years of control for Cole Irvin. So that's going to work out pretty well.
Yeah, and the Orioles landed 8 guys on MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospect list. It is a star-studded list, and it starts with Gunnar Henderson at the top with the number 1 spot. And Steve, the translation between prospect success and having a deep farm system and big league success, there usually is a correlation, and that's why it's so exciting to see so many prospects in the top 100.
Well, what a stunning list of 8 players here. And if you go through Baseball America and add Baseball Prospectus, they've all come out with their top 100. You have 10 Orioles who have gotten top 100 recognition, Kjerstad and Mayo in addition to that list. So, that's just a very strong list. And Paul, over the years we've seen farm systems that have been ranked number 1, and the Orioles are now. They were ranked by 3 major outlets mid-season 2022 as the number 1 farm system. You can go back to the Kansas City Royals that the Orioles faced in the ALCS. 3 years before that, they had the number 1 farm system. The Chicago Cubs, a couple years later, they had the number 1 farm system. They end a 100-year drought, win the World Series. Atlanta's been number 1, won the World Series. Tampa Bay's had a highly ranked farm system. Cleveland, Seattle, teams we've seen in the playoffs in recent years have had highly ranked farms.
Yes, the number 1 farm system that also boasts the number 1 prospect in all of baseball. Gunnar Henderson ascending to that number 1 spot. Maybe what put him over the top was the fact that he was not just great in the minors last year, but we saw a month of him in the big leagues last year where he flashed so much potential.
So much potential. 34 games, what a run he had. The big leagues, it was really special to see. And, this started last year at Bowie for Gunnar Henderson. He was at Double-A, and he got off to an electric start with the Bay Sox. His plate discipline that he worked on, his flattening out his swing, handling the high elevated fastball better, all these things, he had specific goals, and he got better at all of them. And when last year began, it was like, wow, Gunnar's just a different guy. And then he went to Triple-A and he hit, and then he went to the major leagues and he hit, and he played great defense along the way. He's got a great attitude, so he's number 1. So you have 2 in 1 draft, Rutschman and Gunnar getting to the top of the list.
Steve Rockabatko, MASNsports.com. Good to finally work with you.
I love your work.
Thanks. It's right back at you. Heston Kjerstad makes it back into the top 100. He was 69th after the 2020 draft, fell out for obvious reasons. He's 80th now. Any sense of why he didn't appear anywhere on the other 2 that you mentioned, top 100s? This one, not only is he like 99 or 100, he's 80th.
Yes.
And how big a year is this for him then? Because he still seems like he's getting overlooked a little bit because of all the other prospects.
It's hard to say someone's 80 and go overlooked, right? But he's almost become a forgotten man. But I think maybe this is the Jim Callis effect, because Jim went to Arizona and saw Kjerstad in person and talked to him a couple times, and he was the MVP of the Arizona Fall League. It was 22 games. It was electric. He was hitting at the end of last year. I saw him in the playoffs with Aberdeen. It was really coming together. He had knocked off the rust. And Rock, this kid went 27 months between his last game at Arkansas and his first minor league game. 27 months. That's a ridiculous layoff. So really, I think the Orioles were grading Kjerstad on a curve last year, just happy he was healthy. But by the end of the year, the bat was special, and he was driving the ball all over the place, and he hit some home runs in Arizona, and he's number 80.
Yeah, I talked to a scout at the winter meetings who was at the AFL and said he was the best hitter he saw. Any feel for where he may start? Does he have to go back to high A ball, or does he go to Bowie where he maybe is a phone call away?
I think he's going to Double-A. Matt Blood kind of hinted at that in an interview we did over the offseason. I think the Orioles will be happy to start him at Bowie. He could make a move to AAA at some point. So, I mean, onward and upward for this kid. I mean, you got Cowsers ahead of him right now in the pecking order, but maybe Kerstad's making up ground fast.
You also have the excitement of a couple guys in the 90 to 100 range. One guy, Joey Ortiz, that also made Baseball America's top 100. Then you've got a couple guys who were just outside the top 100, I think you could say, in Connor Norby and Kobe Mayo. Two guys that I think could join the top 100 once you see some guys graduate from the top 100.
Right, and Norby led the organization in home runs, and Jordan Westberg was right behind him. We haven't talked much about Westberg, but he may be the most major league ready of all those guys, the most AAA games. But one thing that's exciting about that list, most of that list, Holiday's an exception, had played at high levels. And when they got to AAA, even in a small sample size like Norby and Ortiz, they hit very, very well at AAA. So, I mean, it's impressive to have that list of 8, but it's also impressive that they're so close to the major leagues. So, I mean, this group, we've already seen, 4 of them, I think, are already on the 40-man, and it's just a matter of time for the rest.
Absolutely. Exciting times for the Orioles in their farm system, and we'll see where all of these guys go as the season goes along, if they jump higher in MLB Pipeline's top 100, or if some make their debuts over the course of the season. MASN Orioles insider Steve Molesky, thanks so much for your time.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
And, of course, you can read everything that these two have to offer on MASNsports.com. Rock Cabaco and Steve Molesky have you covered with breaking news, feature stories, in-depth interviews, and so much more. And, of course, make sure you keep those comment sections lively. I know both of you guys go through with a fine-tooth comb and read every one of those comments.
Twice.
I'm up at 4 a.m. to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.